Uh, let me just leave it like this. Yeah, I think it's fine. So, um, Bryan Battle versus Nursulton Ruziboev. Ah, this is going to be a tricky one, to be honest. This is probably going to be the most competitive fight or the hardest fight to actually predict on this particular card. Because first instinct tell me go with Nursulton Ruziboev. He has the finishing ability and everything until you get to the breakdown of the fight and you're like, wait a minute, that's not true, you know? So and speaking of which, let's actually get to the breakdown of the fight, right? So, Brian Battle has a reach advantage in this particular fight, which is kind of crazy because I would have assumed Nursultan Ruziboev would have the advantage. So, I mean, it's not a massive advantage, but still, I would assume Ruziboev is massive. Like, so I would assume that he's probably going to have a reach advantage. Brian Battle actually has a one inch reach advantage, which is not like that it's significant. I don't think it's going to affect that fight that much, but still, it's significant enough. Obviously, as far as power goes, Ruziboyev has more power in his hands. But still, he's not particularly great, especially when it comes to his grappling. We saw what Joaquin Buckley was able to do against him. So anyone who has the ability to grapple is going to give Ruziboyev problems. And Brian Battle is not gonna gas out. He might slow down, but he's not gonna gas out like the guy who fought Ruziboyev. What's his name? Oh, Dustin Stoltzfus. And Stoltzfus was having success, right? I actually thought he would actually get this one done because Stoltzfus had the wrestling to actually succeed in this particular fight. But unfortunately, Stoltzfus is kind of are very crappy. It seems like he didn't come prepared for this particular fight because he had success in the first round, if I remember that correctly, and then started to lose. Basically, in the second round, gave up, gassed out, you know. So I don't think that's going to happen with Brian Battle. But before we get to the grappling, let's actually speak about the striking. But before we get to the striking, finishing ability, I feel like both of them are pretty good at finishing fights. Brian Battle has a 77% finishing rate. Nursultan Ruziboev is a little bit better at 92% finishing rate, which means this fight probably goes to a finish, potentially, but it might go to a decision. Who knows? But yeah, as far as activity, I feel like Brian Battle is going to be a lot more active than Ruziboev. However, even though I feel like Brian Battle is going to be landed significantly more than Ruziboev, I feel like Ruziboev is going to be defensively better. But that's probably because he doesn't throw as much. Probably he might be a lot maybe a bit more successful because of the knockouts and everything like that. But he's not very active, right? So striking wise, I don't know, man. I'll give the slight advantage to Nursultan Ruziboyev, obviously because of the knockout power. There's a bit of technique, a little bit more technique than Brian Battle, but in no way am I saying that Brian Battle doesn't know how to strike. Maybe I am, but still, in comparison to Nursultan Ruziboyev, I feel like it's going to be competitive. The only equalizer that I see playing a significant role in this particular fight is Nursultan Ruziboyev's power. Um, so yeah, on the feet, I think I will just leave it at the fight being competitive. So yeah, that's as far as I can go. And then as far as grappling goes, Nursultan Ruziboyev has horrible, horrible, horrible takedown defense. I mean, he has the ability to actually get the takedowns, but still, I feel like he has a horrible takedown defense. I think this is Brian Battle's fight to win. I don't like the fact that Brian Battle also has bad takedown defense, but in comparison to Nursultan Ruziboyev's takedown defense, Brian Battle's takedown defense is not that bad. You know, in comparison, so the easiest way to explain it is Bryan Battle has bad takedown defense. Ruziboev has horrible takedown defense. That's the difference, right? Battle is bad with the defense, but Ruziboev is horrible. Like if Dustin Stoltzfus could do that to him, and we saw what Joaquin Buckley did to him, I felt like Bryan Battle's fighting style is perfectly matched for him, or rather, this is the perfect match for him to actually get the win because Ruziboev is easy to take down. And if Stoltzfus didn't get tired in that particular fight, I felt like Stoltzfus would have won that fight. He was having success in the first round. Unfortunately, he doesn't have any gas, which sucks. But I mean, it is what it is. So because of that, man, I feel like Bryan Battle is going to win this fight. I don't fault my subscribers are going with Nursulton Ruziboev. If I'm going with Bryan Battle, I just feel like on the feed it might be a little bit more competitive. Obviously, with the equalizer of Ruziboev being that knockout ability, but still, I don't feel like it's as effective when he's fighting someone who is somewhat, decent on the feed. And I think Bryan Battle is not going to be lost on the feed, right? And I think Bryan Battle has pretty decent fight IQ. I could see him clinching. I just hope the fact that the fans were booing him in his last fight is not going to make him do stupid things like, oh, I'm not going to wrestle, I'm going to strike and show them I can strike. I hope that's not what he does because I think this is the fight that's tailor made for him to actually win. I genuinely, the only way Ruziboev wins this fight is if he lands a good shot that knocks out Bryan Battle, which I genuinely don't think is going to happen. If anything, Bryan Battle is probably going to have some success. Maybe Ruziboev might land pretty decent shots that might hurt Bryan Battle. But once again, I will emphasize this point. If Dustin Stoltzfus can have success against you in the first round, because if Stoltzfus didn't get tired in that particular fight, he would have won, right? We saw that in the first round. Stoltzfus would have won. So I think Bryan Battle is a way better Stoltzfus and has better gas tank, a better gas tank. He doesn't even have to stand with Ruziboev. He can just easily just take him down. Initially, when I started to break down this fight, I thought in my head I was like, okay, this might be a little bit more competitive than I anticipate. But now, in hindsight, after breaking it down a little bit more, I'm a little bit more confident in Bryan Battle, man. Ruziboyev has horrible, horrible, horrible takedown defense. Um, on the feet, I think it might be a little bit competitive. Both of them are pretty good at finishing fights. Battle with 77%, Ruziboyev with 92%. So it's not like either of them don't know how to finish fights. They both know how to finish fights. So it's going to come down to who is going to have the advantage if it goes to a decision. I am not going to pick Ruziboyev banking on the idea that, oh, he might land a big shot. What if it doesn't happen? Right? I mean, I can't pick someone based off of that. I can't be like, what if? There are times where it hasn't happened. Like, if Stoltzfus can do what he did to him in the first round, I can't be confident in you. I'd much rather get the pick wrong because at this particular point, which I doubt is going to happen, at this particular point, when you pick Ruziboyev, you are basically banking on him finding a knockout. That's the only way he's going to win. I don't think that's gonna happen against Battle. I genuinely, even though he has like a 92% finishing rate, I still don't feel like Ruziboyev is going to get that shot. I just see him getting taken down early in the first round and being smothered for 3 rounds. Or Bryan Battle finding a submission. But I think Ruziboyev has some offensive wrestling, so maybe it might help him to avoid getting submitted. So maybe it might just be Bryan Battle controlling Ruziboyev for 3 rounds. But yeah, if those fools can do that to you, I feel like Bryan Battle can. My subscribers are going with Ruziboyev. I'm going with Stoltz. I'm going with Bryan Battle. Um, I'm a little bit more confident than I was. It's in no way am I saying this is a lock or anything like that, but I'm a little bit more confident in Bryan Battle after breaking down this particular fight. If you want to rewatch this whole thing, all my breakdowns are available on the live section of the channel. You can watch them at your own pace, at your own time. You don't have to just watch. bits and pieces of it. Let me go and break down the last fight for today. Of course, the UFC added 3 more fights. So tomorrow I have to break down 3 more fights from, and all of them are regional guys making their debut, if I'm not mistaken. One of them was on the Contender Series. So yeah, usually Fridays I take a break a little bit from the breakdowns, but yeah, it seems like this week is not gonna be one of those weeks. So yeah, today I have one more fight to break down. I think it's Karini Silva versus Dione Barbosa. If you want to join me, let's go there. Deuces.